Okay, so everyone's here for our art pricing 101 webinar, which we're very excited about. So welcome everyone to Less Than Half's free webinar, our inaugural webinar for non-members of 2026. So hopefully you'll walk away with some interesting and useful information. Um, so I don't know. I know there are some current members in the audience, some faces that I don't know, some names that I don't know, some people I do know. So just want to orient us, just to give us a sense of who am I and why am I qualified to tell you things about the art market. So this is me actually quite a long time ago. But my name is Hall W. Rockefeller. I'm the founder of Less Than Half, which is a membership organization for culturally curious women um, to learn about how to navigate the art world, how to navigate the art market as collectors and supporters of women artists. I've spoken on the main stage at Art Basel. Actually, the title of my talk there was Is Matronage the New Patronage? And if you ask me, the answer is yes. I've spoken at Sotheby's Institute for Christie's Education, a number of other places. I regularly bring my feminist perspective to essays and articles for Hyperallergic and other publications like Harper's Bazaar, Ursula, and really anywhere that will lend me a soapbox to preach my message of inclusion and celebration of women artists. Um, so I said I was the founder of Less Than Half. What's Less Than Half? Less Than Half is a organization, as I said, a membership focused on women artists. Despite centuries of contributions to art history and culture, women artists are systematically overshadowed, underrepresented, and overlooked. So Less Than Half is that membership for women who refuse to accept this as the status quo as an organization. We, and when I say we, me, our wonderful team, including two people on this call, Felicia, who's been welcoming you all in, and Emily, who are part of our amazing community team. So we equip culturally curious women with the knowledge, confidence, and connections to invest in women artists with purpose and personal meaning. Um, as I said, we've been all over the place, just to lend that credibility. We've been in the New York Times. That was our most recent win just a couple weeks ago, in Town and Country, in Art Basel, and on the Art Basel stage, and in Harper's Bazaar. So if you've been doubting the credibility of the words that we're about to share with you, hopefully the amazing minds at these publications will convince you otherwise. Um, okay, so that's our uh, background orientation. The internet is a crazy place. Maybe you came to us through my Instagram or the New York Times article or wherever it is. Hopefully that will give you a little bit of a sense of what it is we're about. So, art pricing 101. Pricing in the art world is notoriously opaque. In some cases, it's considered almost gauche to have prices listed, as if to say, what? Art costs money? The art world loves to pretend otherwise. But the reality is, yes, art does cost money. Artists need to live, of course. I know some people on the call know that. Galleries are businesses. Other people on the call understand that. And the art market is, yes, a market, even if its operations are a little bit out of the ordinary. I always wonder what economists think about the art market. Seems like a very unusual case for an economist to study. So in this webinar, I will cover some basics around art pricing, why the art market obscures prices, and how you can get around this art market coyness. It's my goal for you to walk away from this session with a few new tools in your tool belt, whether you are currently a collector or are aspiring to become an art buyer. It's information like this, straightforward answers to seemingly simple questions that pull back the curtain on art market topics that define the Less Than Half membership. We're doing this webinar open to anybody who's curious about the question, including I see someone about to enter the chat, my previous professor, who I can credit with getting me into so much when it comes to art and art history. So it's these types of things that define the membership. So we're doing this session as a celebration of the opening of our Essentials membership, which opens every quarter. And doors are open until the end of the month. So if you do like what you hear tonight, be sure to explore a little bit of the membership. And you can do that by scanning the QR code, which is on um, every slide. So we can all agree art prices are obscure. It's very hard to find an art price. So why exactly is that? Um, the generous reason for the artist's benefit. To give the art world the benefit of the doubt, prices are obscure in order to control an artist's market for the benefit of that artist's career. An artist's work is not sold like any other product on the market with a fixed price. You know that if you go to Bloomingdale's, you're going to see that a white button-down shirt is the same price besides a sale or two. But art is certainly not like that. The market is constantly changing. Prices are constantly changing. Even from buyer to buyer, the price might be different. So to keeping the price obscure means that if there's a brief dip in interest in that artist, it won't affect the overall market for that artist. So that is to say, gallerists do not want to give the impression that an artist is less valuable for whatever reason, potentially triggering other collectors to sell the work in their possession. So that's my generous reason for why art market prices are so obscure. But the reality is this obscurity tends to have some knock-on effects that maybe aren't great for the buyer or for the artists themselves. So my cynical reason um, is for control. From a less generous perspective, prices are obscure, so the art market has greater control. Opacity generally always gives power to the person who does have knowledge, and it's easier to dupe a consumer without full understanding into paying a higher price than the market is willing to pay. So you can see that if, as I said, buyer to buyer, if I think that I can sell this piece of work for $10,000 to you, and someone a little bit savvier who knows the market would only take $5,000. It's easier for me to sort of switch up the price when when I see you walking through the door. So lucky for you, you have Less Than Half to help you find clarity around art market pricing. And of course, if you join our membership, the Essentials tier, you will find the confidence to navigate the art market as a new collector. So let's jump into some practical things. How do you ask for a price at an art gallery? One of the benefits of our membership is every month we have a webinar with an art world professional. So last year we welcomed a great friend of mine, Elizabeth Denny, who owned a gallery for 10 years and is now the director of the Outsider Art Fair in New York. And she gave us a webinar on art market pricing. Among her many insights, she shared an excellent script to memorize when asking for a price at an art gallery. And it's a script that I use all the time and works absolute wonders. So instead of asking, pointing to a piece of work at an art gallery, how much is this painting? Ask, what is the price range of this exhibition? So this simple change, this simple reframing of pricing allows you to get a sense of whether the works on view are in your price range. You can assume if you're quoted, say, oh, the works in the show are $5,000 to $15,000. You can assume that the smaller works are on the low end of that spectrum and the larger works are on the higher end. Works on paper also tend to be lower in price. And of course, any prints or editions will also be on that lower end. So with this phrase in your back pocket, you don't need to have that stress of pointing at an individual artwork and asking for the price and then, oh, that one's, oh, 10,000, that's not my price range. How about this one? Oh, 8,000, not quite. How about this? You can avoid the quote unquote embarrassment of asking for a price and then balking at the price tag that you're quoted. But of course, if the range quoted is in your budget, you can very quickly follow up and ask for a list of available works, of course, with the prices listed. And if that price range that is quoted to you is not in your budget, you can simply say, thank you very much, and then continue looking at the show. You don't have to admit to the gallerist that you wouldn't dream of buying one of these works. There's that unfortunate thing that I think a lot of people find is that there's an embarrassment or a feeling that if you have to ask the further price, you can't afford it, or if you're the person asking, then you're going to be you're not worth the galler's time. All of that out the window. We're not in the business of being embarrassed. We're in the business of giving you the confidence to find out the information that you need. Um, and one more little thing, in the state of New York, where of course there are a lot of art galleries, it's actually illegal not to have a price list available to those who want it. So while I don't recommend that you threaten legal action, if an art gallerist is cagey about prices, it is your right to know prices. So, just let that be a little bit of a confidence boost, should an art gallerist try to obscure prices further. So sometimes you're maybe not in New York. You're in the San Juan Islands, as one of our guests is today, or Carbondale, Illinois, or not quite close to an art gallery where you can actually step up to a gallerist and ask a price. So um, I have a number of tips for anyone who is looking to find a price not in the vicinity of an art gallery. In this case, some simple internet sleuthing can help you get a sense of what artwork is priced at. So I would say the simplest place to start is auction data. Um, Auctions, of course, are the only public record of a sale price. And any auction data of an artist that you're interested in can give you a good sense of that price range of what an artwork is being priced at by the market. An auction also has that amazing benefit of being the price that people are actually willing to pay, whereas sometimes a gallerist might price something at, an astronomical price, hoping that there's one person who's willing to pay that, whereas an auction is the world putting out a piece of art saying, who wants this? And people saying, I think it's worth this, and someone else saying, I think it's a little bit worth a little bit more, and then um, whatever it sells at is the sort of market price. There are many services that where you can access auction data. ArtNet Pro is probably the industry standard, but that can be pretty pricey to subscribe to. So I simply suggest going to Christie's or Sotheby's to get creating a free account on those sites, and through that you can access anything that's been sold by those two auction houses. And of course, they're the two biggest in the world, so chances are the artists that you're interested in will have at least one example of work being sold. That's less true for contemporary artists, of course. So for that, I have a different trick, which also comes from the great Elizabeth Denny, and she was a wealth of information. So um, This little trick is great for finding out the price of a contemporary artist. So go to Artsy, artsy.net. It's a database, where many, many galleries list work that they have for sale. And I put in Caroline Walker. Caroline Walker is a contemporary artist. She's very successful, and she makes these incredible sort of scenes of domesticity, whether that's motherhood or domestic work, labor. You can see here is a maid doing the bed. So if you search for whatever artist you're interested in, you'll find various results. Here, of course, Artsy will have some prices listed. So we have one for, 500 pounds, 550, but these are all additions. So they're sort of on the lower end. I want to know what the price of something like this work, which is an original painting. And you can see it's being sold by Ingleby Gallery and it says price on request. Okay, so yes, I could very well contact the gallery and request the price. But there's a more fun trick that will, spare you the hassle of reaching out to a gallery and even sometimes the complete silence of a gallery. Sometimes you can reach out to a gallery and they just simply won't respond. So you go to this put in your artist name. You go to price range and you can see, okay, here's the price range. You can say, I want to know the price of this work. You can sort of toggle these until you get a sense. Okay, so if I toggle here, I know that this work is between 20,000 and 46,800. If I go like this, oh, it disappears. So I know that that top end is much more likely to be in there. Okay, so it reappears. We can slowly, slowly zero in on the price of this artwork. And I happen to know that it's between 46. Okay, so there we go. We know that this work is between 46,000 and $47,000. It says price on request, but we did a little bit of sleuthing. We figured it out. It is within that price range. Of course, if the work is worth more than $50,000, we're not going to be able to zero in on it. But I would say the majority of collectors are buying works between 0 and 50,000. And certainly the majority of contemporary artists are selling at prices under 50K. So a great little trick to have in your back pocket. So that's our little, oh, that's our little trick from the great Elizabeth Denny. And I hope you use it because I use it all the time. Even if I'm not going to buy work, I just want to know what exactly people are selling at. Um, so it's tips and tricks like that that I just love. And I think the a Lesson Half Essentials membership is just absolutely full of, whether it's coming from, our art professionals in our webinars or from other members in our WhatsApp group. So um, when I learned that, I was just, I don't know, mind blown. So the final question that I often get from new collectors or people sort of dipping their toe into the art world when it comes to pricing is it okay to negotiate a price? People hear often that discounts are offered, you know, pretty freely in the art market. They know that maybe the price that's listed is not necessarily the price that they're going to pay. So, is it okay to negotiate a price? And I will say that discounts are very common in the art world, but I would say be careful about negotiating prices. It is common to be offered a 10% discount on a work, and 20% is not unheard of. However, um, galleries will tend to offer discounts to clients who have shown loyalty to their program. So clients who have bought multiple works from that gallery over time or who have showed a demonstrated commitment to an artist's career. And those are the people who tend to get higher discounts. Asking for a discount right off the bat when you're completely unknown to a gallerist might be considered disrespectful, and certainly lowballing with something, greater than 20% is definitely going to be received negatively. Um, my one caveat for that is that if you're buying multiple works from an art gallery, you definitely have more of a leg to stand on when it comes to negotiating a discount. Um, and in that case, I would ask maybe for a 10% discount if you're buying multiple works. Um, Keep in mind, however, that if an art gallery is selling the work of a living artist that they represent, that discount might come out of the commission that an artist gets at the end of the day. An artist commission, generally 50%. So if you're negotiating a 20% discount, it's possible that the artist will receive less at the end of the day. Though not always the case, depends on the gallery's policy. Um, so that's my general rule of thumb when it comes to negotiating with an art gallery. But when it comes to artists, I think the question is a little bit more sensitive. In our Essentials membership, we had an art professional session with the painter and textile artist Amanda Valdez, a wonderful artist, and I asked her this question. And she cautioned against asking for a discount from an artist directly, especially an emerging artist such as herself. She's a young artist. She has a young child to support. Um, any money that you are saving from when buying from an artist is money that they don't have to buy materials, to pay for their studio rent, to pay for childcare. So I would definitely ask you to think hard when asking for a price cut from an artist. The art world at its core is a relationships business. So if you do end up negotiating with an artist, you might get the reputation of being someone unwilling to pay full price, and thus end up being a collector that people or artists don't exactly want to sell to. And I remember having a conversation with Jan, who's on this call actually, about how artists are actually a very gossipy group. So if you end up getting a reputation for being this or that, chances are that artist is going to tell her friends and they're going to tell their friends. And it's just generally a good idea. Always to be a good person, but certainly when your end goal is to be an art collector and to build good relationships with people and artists. So that is my very, very quick jaunt through art pricing and the sort of ins and outs of the art market. Um, we would love to have you join us as a member in our Essentials cohort, which is closing at the end of March. We actually have a discount for anybody who's attended this webinar. And I think it will be posted in the chat. Yes, coupon code. Thank you, Emily. Pricing webinar 15. So if you want to scan that QR code and join right now, that's absolutely fabulous. Maybe you want to, sign off and think about it for a minute or two. But pricing webinar 15 will be open as a coupon for the rest of the evening. So that's my jaunt through the world of art pricing. I was hoping that I could hand it off to Felicia to explain a little bit further about what the membership entails. Felicia is in charge of our membership relations, and she's just gonna walk you through a few details. Here's just a little bit of a reference. So yeah, take it away, Felicia.
Thank you, Hall. And yes, it's always nice to have some words on the slide that you can follow along with. But thank you all so much for being here. Our community, our movement, if you'll let me even go that far, is built by women like you who believe in the power of collective action, of women supporting women and women collecting women. We have a saying, I might buy a male artist's work, but I collect women artists. And that's a value that we live by. And we really anchor that through our education, our community, and our programming. Um, so we have a vibrant, first and foremost, um, a virtual art circle that is hosted on WhatsApp. And in this virtual community, you can connect with other women who are like-minded in their art-loving and value-driven approach to collecting. We have women who are longtime collectors, and then we have people who are brand new and are, you know, buying their first piece or just kind of dipping their toes in and wanting to understand how the art market works. It's a great place to pose questions for Hall's No Stupid Questions column on Substack. Um, we are member driven, so we want to make sure that we're answering the specific and exact questions and queries that you have about how the art market works and your collecting strategy. It's also, and not, and in no small part, it's community. So if you pose a question, maybe somebody else has the answer. If you have a weekend free and you want to go see some art, that's where you find your companion. There are gallery recommendations abound for galleries that we call less than half approved, meaning they represent our values. They represent 50% or more women on their roster. And if they're not less than half approved, they're vetted by us and they champion women artists. So it's a great place if you are looking to not only learn more about collecting and the strategy behind it, but also to find peers to enjoy the experience with. I like to say that joy compounds, and art is a very joyful process, or art collecting is a very joyful process. And so it's really lovely to be able to do it in community. So our sort of structure, our container, if you will, where we um, teach you the brass tacks of art collecting follows a four-part curriculum because collecting isn't just about that transaction, especially not our philosophy of matronage, which in this moment I will take a step back and I will, in no uncertain terms, share that the philosophy of matronage is one of holistic support for the woman artist who faces unique challenges and experiences, unique opportunities. Um, and so we support women at every stage of their career and we identify um, how they can use more support. So if they are not able to produce work when they're caring for their aging parents or caring for their children, how can you, as one of their collectors, be in their corner beyond that point of transaction? Whether that is writing them a letter of recommendation for daycare or giving a good recommendation for a nursing home, just being there as a champion for the artist as a whole person. And so with that, I will bring us back to our curriculum, which takes us through seeing, building, preserving, and legacy. So seeing is visual literacy, which is developing your taste. And I am going to drop into the chat a free visual taste worksheet that many of you might, or some of you might have. And what it is, it takes you through exercises and practices to really encounter the world around you in a deeper way, with an eye towards understanding what you like, what you don't like, and why. So I encourage you definitely to download that, take that home with you, and bring it out into your life. And then, now you know what you like. You're going to start building your collection. That's where building comes in. We take you through how the art market works, conversations very similar to this one, negotiations, prices, um, things like that. Going into preserving, which is, insurance, things of that nature, the logistics that are important for any thorough collector to bear. And then legacy. How do you carry on the assets that you have since acquired in your time as a collector, as a larger part of your investment strategy? Trust in estates, things of that nature. We cover all of this in our art circle community, supported by our education library, um, starting with our art professional sessions, which is sort of our flagship education offering. Their monthly webinars with art professional experts, um, ranging from how do you take a studio visit? How do you do a studio visit with an artist? What's the etiquette? Do you bring wine, flowers? What kinds of shoes should you wear? Should you send a thank you note? To pricing, how to attend an auction, um, interior design, incorporating your collection in interior design, and that it lives in a library that you're able to access throughout the entirety of your membership. In addition to that, we have a course led by Hall called How to See that is in depth, very similar to the visual taste worksheet, but that takes you even further into developing your taste. And then finally, we have Art Collecting Secrets, which is 10 years of Hall's experience in the art world in about 20 pages. So if you really appreciated having language to walk into a gallery, such as, what is the price range for the exhibition? We have scripts for you to use when you walk into a gallery, email templates to send to the gallery, podcast recommendations, newsletters to follow. So it's really a one-stop shop to take your art collecting education to the next level. Um, and finally, we have our in-person matrons mixers for those of us who are in New York City, and they are a way to connect with fellow matrons, your like-minded women artist advocate, in a gallery that is less than half approved, always during the presentation of a woman artist. And they're a fun, casual gathering. Um, and they're my favorite day of the month. So with that, I will share, the taste of the membership that we have with the visual taste worksheet, as well as a special treat that we have for you, the coupon code that you can use this evening that will remain open for the duration of the night to use to sign up for the Essentials membership, which is pricing webinar 15. And if you have any questions at all about membership, if you are considering taking your collecting to the next level, our emerging tier is more in depth, gives you direct access to Hall to advise you and guide you personally on your collecting strategy. Doors are open for our Essentials membership until the end of the month, March 31st. So you definitely want to make sure that you get in before the doors close and the next cohort doesn't start for some time. And we we really encourage this sense of togetherness through our cohort model. So the women that you join the membership with during this season are who are going to be almost like your sorority pledge class. They're going to be the people who you're learning alongside, of course, in addition to everyone else in the community. Um, but they're the people who you joined with, and so there's a special place there. Um, If you haven't already checked out Hall's Substack, that is an incredible place to start. And if you have any questions, you can always email Cornelia at lessthanhalf.org. A little bit of a less than half secret is she is our mascot. You can see her in Hall's icon. She is our female blue nude has who got tired of being painted and stepped off the canvas, stopped being passive, and took the future of the art world into her own hands. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We're really excited to welcome many of you into our community in the coming few days, and we hope to see you at a Less Than Half event very, very soon. I'll be sticking around for any questions, but with that, thank you for being here and good night. And I'm going to drop Cornelia's email in here as well.
Thank you so much, Felicia. And thank you everyone for being here. We hope you learned something very valuable as you navigate the art market.
We'll stick around for a few minutes for any additional questions.
Wonderful.
And I just got a good question DM to me. The emerging cohort, and I'll just share it with the class. The emerging cohort remains open. So if you're looking to have more direct access to Hall, more in-person events, that would be the choice for you. Our Essentials membership is an incredible place for somebody who wants to take their art collecting to the next level. And then somebody who's looking for that direct advisory and in-person events emerging beyond mixers, that would be the place for you as well. Yes, Jan.
There, am I unmuted?
Mhm.
Um, a statement, it's not a question.
Mm.
Concerning outsider art, which I buy a lot of, I never negotiate.
Mm.
I never do. It's gone pretty much straight to people that need it. And I have a group that I buy through in San Francisco, and it's worth every penny. So,
I'm glad you brought that up. We talked about discounts. We were talking about
mhm.
discounts. We all want to save money. There's also a
Yeah.
philosophy that an incredible artist we just had the great privilege of celebrating at our last mixer came up with, which is, I think we'll call it the pink premium. So, the way that the market works, uh, how you enter the primary market is how you'll be stationed in the secondary market. And so, her name is Michelle Pred. She's a Swedish American artist, incredible art activist. And she encourages people to tack on about a 10-15% premium on a woman artist's work so that they're positioned stronger when their work is resold. Something to consider. Thank you for your share, Jan. If anybody if any members, any matrons of the arts, I actually don't know if we've used that phrase yet. We've talked about the philosophy of matronage. That's our regendering, of course. If anybody um, who is a matron would like to share their favorite things about the membership, we would love to hear from you.
If I can speak for one of them, who I know is on the call, I think, and her testimonial is on our website. Just the knowledge that becoming an art collector is not necessarily something that you need, um, you know, tens of millions or billions of dollars, which is very much the messaging that we get that art is this, luxury asset, when in fact there are thousands upon thousands of artists selling work for affordable prices, like Jan said, that need our support and are selling at a price that is very much within many people's ranges. So that was one thing that I was so proud when that member, who shall remain nameless, said that Less Than Half helped her open her eyes to that art collecting, though it's a big word, and being a collector is a very sort of hefty kind of title to give yourself. That in fact, Less Than Half showed her that there's a lot out there for her.
Mm.
Could I say one more thing? Um, Felicia helped me realize how much art I own. And when I started going through that, it was really very emotional because it's been over 50 years that I've been collecting art. And when I look at it, the majority of it is women. And even with the outsider art, it's way over the majority of women. And I don't even plan it that way because I'm going through art bins and I don't know if they're men or women. So I'm just pulling them and buying them. Um, and it, it made me think. And I'm happy about it, but it was also rather painful. Um, some of these people are no longer with us. And some of them died young. And, I was looking them up on the net to see if they were still alive. And it was rather depressing because they didn't have a chance to have a long career.
Yeah.
But thank you, Felicia. It,
That it's my honor. That was a really fun exercise that we did. Jan and I were just on the phone, and I was like, why don't you make a list of what is in your collection? For context for the group, Jan is an artist herself. And what happens when you are living and breathing in the art world is you have a lot of work that you didn't realize that you had, and that's what happened. And then also something fun that we did just in this conversation was talking about a wish list. So, in kind of cataloging the work that Jan did have, it also came up, what do you wish that you had? And that was a question that I posed to the group in the WhatsApp today, is what's on your wish list? Or what's something that you can't get out of your head that you've seen? Yeah, I mean, I'll share some reflections that I've heard from the community. My favorite is I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Which that gives you confidence to say the right things. People respond to you in a different way. It's a relational world, the art world, and that's a real tool to have in your pocket to be resourced with.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And we hope to see you in the membership. And please do email Cornelia. Sort of sort of have a thought of making Jan our mascot instead of Cornelia, but maybe you two can be co-mascots. But email Cornelia at lessonhalf.org with any questions, and we do hope to see you in the membership in April. So thank you so much, and of course thank you to my dear team, Felicia and Emily, for being part of this webinar.